I hope everyone's ready for news, because we're back with more of it, whether you like it or not. Like I said, light news week. Not too much at all. So we're just going to go through it the usual way. Large stuff, small stuff, and then maybe we'll do some chat picks. Chat picks were a little unhinged this week, so we'll see. We'll see what we decide to put in here. And don't forget our dev dub. I can't even say it. It's my own thing. I can't even fucking talk. Starting off with the usual layoffs and cancellations. BitHell Games is making the majority of its full-time staff redundant. Jordan Midler, VGC. This is the studio behind a Tron game, John Wick game. In a statement posted to social media, studio boss Mike Bithell, it's either Bithell or Bithell. I'm not sure. Wrote, sad news today. I'm gonna say Bithell because I like that sound better for the studio at least. BitHell Games, having been unable to secure a new larger scale project, is reducing in size. This means that 11 jobs are being made redundant. This constitutes the majority of our full-time staff. That's unfortunate. It became clear leading up to the release of our most recent game that we were not immune to the challenges faced by many game development teams seeking funding partners in 2024 and 2025. We've fortunately been able to communicate these challenges ahead of time and work with affected staff to ease departures as much as possible via severance packages. Best known for Thomas Was Alone, Tron Catalyst, and John Wick X. Continues to say, it's important to state that this was an incredible team of exceptionally talented people. If you're a developer reading this and you're hiring, anyone among these affected would be a great addition to your studio. Please reach out if we can help put you in touch. So another one falls. Unfortunate. It doesn't say that the studio's fully closed or anything, even though this is the majority of the staff, full-time staff. It will remain to be seen if it fully closes. Next up, let's do, we'll just continue here, top to bottom. So Contraband has been officially canceled, shut down, no more stuff. This is Steven Totillo on GameFile. So Microsoft has stopped active development on one of its most enigmatic upcoming Xbox and PC games, the externally developed Contraband, GameFile has learned. Sweden-based Avalanche Studios, which is Just Cause, has been developing the game with Microsoft's Xbox team publishing. It was announced to be a cinematic trailer during E3 2021. Not just E3, but 2021. When there was that might have been the last E3. At the time, the company said that Contraband would be an open-world co-op game set in the fictional 1970s smuggler's paradise of Bayen. They've barely spoken of the game, let alone shown anything since then. And then updated, I believe today, in a statement on their website, Avalanche stated that active development has now stopped while we evaluate the project's future. The studio also noted that we're thankful for the excitement we've seen from the community since we announced, and we'll give an update on what's next as soon as we can. We're thankful for the excitement that we've seen from the community. How much excitement could that been if they haven't said anything about it since 2021? Contraband's official trailer has been set to private Xbox YouTube channel several weeks ago, stoking rumors the game was in jeopardy. Oof. And it goes over to the overall cuts on Microsoft and everything. I mean, I vaguely remember this trailer. There wasn't much to it when I went through it again. It's just this kind of cinematic thing, showing heist plans and stuff. I vaguely remember it. It doesn't, if that's all they've had since then, that's unfortunate. Next up, we've got Turn 10. Turn 10 breaks month-long silence on its future following recent layoffs. This is Darren Bonthus on GameSpot. So the Forza studio is unfortunately affected by the recent layoffs as well. Things have been rough for Xbox game studios lately with numerous layoffs and the cancellation of several games. One of the studios impacted was Forza Motorsport developer Turn 10, with reportedly 50% of its staff affected. 50%. That's half. Oh. This led to fears about the future of the studio and Forza Motorsport, but Turn 10 says that it will continue to support it. They said on Twitter, "Dear Forza community, we know many of you have questions about what's next for the Forza franchise, and we appreciate the support of our incredible community. We wanted to assure players that Turn 10 and Playground Games will continue to support Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon 5. The studio says that it has several events planned for Forza Motorsport throughout August and September, starting with the return of Track Toys Tour as a permanent feature in the game. At the start of each month, an additional tour will be added to the game until all of these have returned. Layoffs at Turn 10 come at a time when the Forza franchise has experienced positive growth on PS5. Since Microsoft shifted to a multi-platform strategy for its first-party games, Forza Horizon 5 and several other former Xbox exclusives have been some of the best-selling games on PS5. The studio's still going, but 50, I don't know how, unless they're gonna, how are they gonna work with 50% of their staff? That's gonna be tough. It doesn't say what kind of staff. It's so odd. I guess we will know eventually what this means for Forza for sure. Next, we got an update on the Sony versus Tencent Horizon ripoff thing matchup fight. This is Abdullah Jawad on thegamepost.com if I can get the link. This is a recent update. After Sony's Horizon knockoff lawsuit against Tencent, Light of Modoram devs scrubbed store page, changing game description, images, and key art. So they're trying to make it the front-facing appearance be less similar, I think, to just, save face here. So they just changed a bunch of artwork images on the store pages. As you can see here, on the left side is what it was, and on the right side is what it looks now. Very different vibe here. Definitely Horizon, not so much as exactly the same. What else do we got? We got, this is new. This is a new photo, this middle one. So is the bottom one there. So this is what the title treatment changed to from the top to the bottom. So instead of basically the Aloy ripoff, they've got some little critters here, robot critters. So they're trying to save face. No update on the actual lawsuit, but just, I guess, a little cheeky response from Tencent. Be like, oh no, what do you mean? This doesn't look the same at all. Look at it. It's too late, my dudes. All right. Next, we got an interview with a former Bioware producer about what went wrong with Anthem. And this is kind of a long one. This is Oisin Kunki. I cannot pronounce that. There's no way. On GameSpot. Anthem famously flopped upon its arrival way back in 2019, and at the start of next year, it will no longer be playable. We talked about that before. Now, in a lengthy YouTube video, former Bioware exec producer Mark Dara has spoken about how the game came to be and how it got its shaky start. He explained that Mass Effect director Casey Hudson was not only pitching a new game, but a fresh vision for Bioware. Spoiler alert, it seems that all the things that Casey Hudson was pitching were what's wrong with live service now, is what it is. What Casey's pitching to EA is Bioware as a new thing. It's Bioware as a new thing. It's Bioware doing storytelling, but doing it in a live service, always online, brand new business model, brand new way of thinking about the way we tell storytelling. According to Dara, a lot of what Hudson initially conceived didn't really make it into the end result, but it's why Anthem was able to generate this much momentum within the organization, because what Casey was essentially pitching was, what if it's a Bioware game, but it could do FIFA numbers? How do you justify that? How can you just say things like that? Of course, everyone will want their game to sell FIFA numbers, but how do you justify this? This is insane. It's just so much of the reasoning of why everything is the way that it is now. The former executive producer even went as far as saying that Hudson and his team weren't just pitching a game, but a new Bioware. He spoke of a video he believes was intended to be shown to executives that was very much presented in, if you imagine the typical early vision video from a slick tech company, it's very much like that video. It talks about how a lot of what Bioware has done in the past is old-fashioned, and its time has come and gone, and that Bioware needs to change, and Bioware needs something different for what I believe to be the originally intended audience. This is exactly what they want to hear. Executives want to hear that Bioware believes that it needs to change, that Bioware needs to be something different. This is why they wanted to hear it in this time period. Oh my god. Anthem was pitched as a game that could continuously bring in revenue at a time when live service games were gaining steam, but ultimately it struggled to come together. Hudson himself left Bioware during development, something Dara noted as a big reason why the game struggled to find an identity. Future of storytelling, it's not clear if Casey knew what that meant, but even if he did, he's not around to clarify that statement to be involved in the process of discovering what that actually means. This is from the behind the scenes directly of what exactly is going on, or what has been going on in all these game studios. Just, it's all snake oil. Right? It's all snake oil bullshit. Oh yeah, what if we could just sell FIFA numbers? This game is gonna sell FIFA numbers. You can't just say that, and then you can't just like back that blindly. Oh god, that's so, with no like proof of concept or anything. Just like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. What an insane proposition. This is what got us here. This is what got us here. But that's already it for the bigger stuff. Let's move on to the smaller items. Let's start with a couple articles about the Sony CFO interview. First one being about mistakes with, not Marathon. Is it Marathon? Concord. Marathon's the second one. Marathon's the one that got delayed. That's in the next article. This is Chris Scully in VGC. So in a Q&A session following the company's latest financial results, this is Sony's chief financial officer says the company will learn from its live service failures. One caller asked its panel of executives for an update on the current status of PlayStation's live service plan and where it sees the issue when it comes to improving its live service games, because it's struggling. CFO Lin Tao replied that despite the negativity surrounding Sony's live service offerings thanks to the issues with Concord and Marathon, she still believes live service games are worthwhile because they've added a revenue stream that didn't exist for the company 5 years ago. Last year Concord shut down and this year Marathon was postponed, so somewhat negative news has been coming out. But if we look at the past 5 years, 5 years ago live service games were almost non-existent for PlayStation Studios. We now have Helldivers 2, MLB The Show. MLB The Show is a live service? Huh? Gran Turismo 7, and Destiny 2. We have these 4 live services contributing to sales and profits in a stable manner. I don't see how you can put... There's no way MLB The Show and Gran Turismo 7 are putting in Helldivers and Destiny numbers. There's no way. But I could be wrong. Tower had earlier noted that Sony's results presentation that live service games accounted for around 40% of first-party software revenue for the past quarter, and cited this again in her reply. For Q1, the live service ratio was about 40% for the full year. It's a little less, probably between 20 and 30. So in terms of the transformation, it's not entirely going smoothly, but from a longer-term perspective, if you look at the changes over 5 years, you see that there's definitely been a change. So they're acknowledging that they've been struggling, but are not backing down in their support for these live service games. But continuing off this, let's open the next one. Talking about Marathon, this is Chris Scully in VGC again, as a follow-up. Okay, so they were also asked about the current state of Marathon following the shooter's official delay, and whether it was factored into Sony's forecast for the current fiscal year. So it's pushed until spring of next year. It was supposed to come out like soon. And now it was delayed indefinitely. There was no date, and I guess now it's been revealed March 2026. Oh, the caller also asked for an update on the management of Bungie, as well as what Sony would do in the worst case scenario if Marathon was to be canceled outright. They responded by saying, it's the same CFO, Marathon is planned to release within the current fiscal year, which ends on March 31st, 2026. First, about Marathon, how we factored it in the forecast, we expect the launch to happen within the fiscal year. But having said that, this is not a commitment. No official announcement has been given yet. We are now doing modifications in development, and based on the progress in the autumn time frame, we believe we can communicate when we can launch Marathon, either from Bungie or PlayStation. So this fall, they're saying that they might be able to give an exact release date. That's wild. About the governance of Bungie, at the time of acquisition, we were offering a very independent environment. So that was one way of thinking. However, thereafter, we have gone through structural reform as we announced last year, so this independence is getting lighter, and Bungie is shifting into a role which is becoming more part of PlayStation Studios, and integration is proceeding. So they're going back on the full autonomy of Bungie. Bungie will basically just answer directly to Sony PlayStation Studios soon. That's kind of wild. I don't know how I feel about that, because that just sounds like there's going to be more layoffs at Bungie down the line. And it's just going to be a mess. Yeah, it was planned to release basically a month from now. but it was announced in June that officially delayed the game. Such a thick delay. Wild. Who knows? I don't know if this game actually, if this game doesn't officially release, I don't know how they can keep saying that they're going to be behind live service stuff. All right, next up on the smaller news, we talked a couple weeks ago about Nintendo doing surveys on like the e-cartridges or whatever in Japan, but now the surveys have hit the US. Finally, this is Tom Ivan, VGC. So if you want to voice your opinion, you can. Nintendo is gauging player opinion on Switch 2 game purchasing options. The survey asks whether players prefer buying games physically or digitally and seeks feedback on Switch 2's controversial game keycards, which have proved unpopular with some consumers. And the only difference, obviously, the keycards you can transfer, digital downloads you cannot. They put an example of the questions here. Physical requiring digital download. The physical cartridge allows the download of a full digital game to the console. The cartridge must be inserted into the console to play the game. The cartridge can be shared and resold. I would put, definitely would not buy. That's what I would put. And obviously game preservationists are not a fan of this at all. I mean, hopefully they go back on this. Just do like they've been doing, digital or physical, one or the other. What is this like in between nonsense that they're doing? It's so weird. Just make a physical card. Next up, Genshin Impact on the PS4 is shutting down. This is Chris calling VGC. I mean, not surprising. I'm sure a lot of PS4 stuff is gonna start shutting down. In a post to the game's official website, MiHoYo stated that it would be discontinuing support and updates for Genshin Impact on PS4 in future versions. According to the developer, the decision was made due to limitations related to hardware performance and platform application size. PS5 version is unaffected, as well as other versions of the game. It appears for now only PS4 version is being shut down, which again makes sense. Eventually, this game is just going to outpace the hardware that the PS4 is capable of, which again is we'll see more and more of this happening. It's fine. The PS5 is already like on the later stages of its generation, so the PS4 stuff's got to go soon. Next up, we've got Peak versus Roblox. This is Victoria Phillips Kennedy, Eurogamer. So obviously Roblox they're not like counterfeit, but they're always like alternate versions of like mainstream games in like little baby size mini games in Roblox. And one of the developers for Peak was like, hey, fuck you. So the team behind indie hit Peak would rather its community pirate its own game than play a microtransaction riddled ripoff that has appeared on Roblox. The Roblox ripoff in question is Cliff, a release that describes itself as a challenging climbing game where even the smallest mistake can be your downfall. And it shows this is what it looks like compared to Peak. I wonder where they got the inspiration from for this game. Interesting. It's almost a direct copy. Get into the gameplay itself. I've just watched some Cliff videos on YouTube, and again, we are well into the blatant copying. Both games have an airport as its lobby area. Both games have first-person views for climbing. Both games have stamina bars that work exactly the same way. To quote our own video whiz, Alex Attenborough, who I've been chatting with as I write this story up, if you showed someone Cliff and Peak, they would think they were the same game. Obviously, that's a little bit of an overstatement because of the like actual quality. Because this is obviously way lower res, but like in general, like the vibe, you're like, yeah, this is like the remaster, the base game HD remaster. What is this nonsense? Fucking Roblox. Unsurprisingly, the Peak team isn't flattered by the arrival of Cliff and has asked its players not to even entertain the Roblox ripoff, branding it microtransaction-riddled slop. Writing on social media, Twitter, the Peak team said it would frankly rather people pirate our own game than even touch Cliff. It's obviously there's games like this all over Roblox, but they're getting more copy pasta now, which is gross. It's starting to look like the Nintendo store. If you know, you know. This is wild stuff. And the kids aren't going to know the difference. But also, like, in terms of kids playing Roblox, they're not going to be able to play Peak. Where are they going to play Peak? You know? These 4-year-olds aren't going to have gaming PCs. They're going to have a phone. I don't know, man. Next up, though, we've got former Blizzard CEO or president, whatever, Mike Ybarra, shitting on Call of Duty. Again, it's not saying a lot coming from a former Blizzard exec, but it's still funny. This is Andy Chalk, PC Gamer. Former Blizzard president predicts Battlefield 6 is going to boot stomp Black Ops 7 because Call of Duty has become, quote, lazy. So former Blizzard president Mike Ybarra spends his time these days heading up a technically not gambling daily fantasy sports company. That doesn't mean he's bereft of thoughts on video games. He actually used the term boot stomp, but given the subject matter, military shooters, I think might choose a word more on point anyway. Ybarra wrote on Twitter, Battlefield will boot stomp COD this year, but the real win here is Call of Duty won't be lazy anymore and we'll get better FPS games for it. He defended his pick in other posts, saying Call of Duty has gone downhill for years since Infinite Warfare 2016. It's a mess. Cheating, heavy UI install, rainbow colors. People are sick of it. Luckily, Battlefield will force them to change it. Which, yeah, I get it. There's too many Call of Duties doing too many things. Battlefield is due for something great. It's been a while since we had a great Battlefield. For me, the last one that I put like a significant time in was Battlefield 1. And I played the beta yesterday for 6, and it's fun. When it works, it's fun. This might be the one, gamers. 6 might be the one. Because it's just straightforward, and it works so far. Battlefront 2 would be the king in my book. But yeah, Mike Ybarra is just like, fuck you, Call of Duty. The last piece of small news. BioShock 4 is confirmed to still be coming out. Not canceled, BioShock 4. The remaster for BioShock, canceled. But 4, not canceled. So we did talk about how, this is Wesleyan Pool IGN, how last week it was saying that it failed like some testing or something and they had to start over or something like that. In an interview ahead of 2K parent company Take-Two reporting its latest 2025 quarterly earnings, I asked CEO Strauss Zelnick flat out if BioShock 4 was in danger of being canceled. Zelnick was clear in his response, it's going to come out. That I can say hand on heart without question. Zelnick sounded pretty confident then, but it's hard to get away from BioShock's tumultuous and lengthy development. On this, Zelnick has his hands up, admitting BioShock 4 has had its troubles, but he also explained why it's proving such a hard nut to crack. We don't talk about how long our development cycles are, but we've had some ups and downs along the way. That is accurate. And we've had to change studios. We've had changes in studio leadership. That said, we have very big shoes to fill on BioShock because of the legacy of Ken Levine. Legacy of what has gone before, which has been so successful, and we need to make sure that this experience is true to the BioShock DNA on the one hand and a massive step forward on the other hand. That's always challenging. We think we're up to the challenge, but it has not been seamless. A lot of more comments on it, just reaffirming that it's coming out. But yeah, it did fail testing recently, which is super unfortunate, a super huge setback. It's been in development for forever. Hopefully it does come out, and hopefully they do restart that remaster project, because that would be so cool. Who knows though. All right, I'm gonna do like maybe one chat pick, because again, this week's chat picks were unhinged, and then we'll do dev dub. Because there was one about Pikachu with boobs, and I don't want. That's weird. We talked about this already. I'll just quickly overview this one about Gabe Newell. This was just about Gabe Newell, who just like, he's so rich and just works from his yacht and is just on his yacht all the time, and just like, he's so excited to be working on his yacht and doing no real work and just loving his job, working on his yacht and being super rich. It's just him just having the time of his life. Joshua Wollen's PC Gamer, if you want to read about it. But yeah, I mean, just rich people doing rich people things. It's nothing that we can relate to, honestly. And then now we'll go into DevDub, which goes to Raven Software. This is Tom Ivan VGC. Call of Duty workers at Raven secure first union contract with Microsoft. WWW. Let's go. Includes guaranteed wage increase and measures to tackle crunch. A group of 19 quality assurance workers at Call of Duty studio Raven Software have unanimously voted to ratify their first union contract with Microsoft. The news, which was first reported by journalist Shannon Lau, which this is the original article. It was hard for me to read this colorway, so I'll put it in the chat as well. Comes over 3 years after Activision Blizzard first officially recognized the union, the Game Workers Alliance. The contract guarantees a 10% wage increase over 2 years, the option to permanently work from home for most QA workers, new measures to tackle crunch culture, and a defined process for promotions and salary increases. Game Workers Alliance was formed in 2022. Then Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick said the publisher would engage in good faith negotiations to enter into collective bargaining agreements with the workers. However, it proved to be a drawn out and fraught process for the union members. They filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board claiming Activision and its parent company Microsoft were stalling over contract negotiations. But W for Raven Software for getting through and breaking out and getting union and getting a contract that has good stuff that they agreed to. Whether it's everything that they wanted, I don't know. But it was enough that they made an agreement with Microsoft. And this is a huge W. We want to see more of these kinds of W's for sure. Instead of like this dev dub, instead of like the developer doing something to get the dub, the developer themselves got the dub. As in, like, this is a dub for them, specifically the workers, which is great. But that's gonna be it for gaming news for this week. Again, like I said, shorter week, light week. Hopefully next week is relatively the same, because I'm all about these shorter edits. But like I said, that's it for news. Thanks everyone that hung out. Make sure to check out the links in the chat. YouTube, Twitter, Discord, TikTok, Instagram. We'll have the video up in a couple days. Hopefully Sunday. We're looking for Sunday for this VOD. But thanks again. You guys are awesome.